The Iranian national team gets all 3 wins in the group stage to advance to the round of 16 and will face off against Syria. But let's talk about the match against the UAE. As we all saw in the previous video where I talked about the match against Hong Kong, I was quite disappointed in the team's performance in that match. But I will give credit where credit is due. This was a much better performance from this team against an opponent that I would say was our toughest one in the group. Iran started off the match very hot, creating a lot of good chances. Defensively, were absolutely solid. Weren't giving UAE an ounce offensively and putting on the pressure early on, which led to the first goal, which came from a combination play between Azmoun and Taremi, where we finally got to see them two up top in this tournament, which Taremi finally got his goal as well in this tournament. It didn't stop there as they kept the pressure on. Golizadeh gets himself a goal, which again, it was happy to see him back in the starting lineup, but it was a weenie whisker offside, which honestly, I think it would have been fair as well if you counted the goal as onside, because it was just like the hair of his kneecap that had him offsides, but nonetheless, the goal did get disallowed. But that first half performance from the team was really good, and I was totally impressed with us. We put on the pressure. I did think we should have been up by 2 or 3 goals, but I thought come the start of the second half, we would keep packing on that pressure on UAE, and eventually we would get that 2 or 3 goals. But as the match kind of went on, the team started getting a little bit lazy offensively, defensively. We kind of let some small moments slip for the UAE offensively, which granted, I don't think they had any like absolute clear-cut chances. I think for the most part, we were very resolute defensively. But then the man that I've been trying to tell you all just shouldn't be starting for this national team as a center back, Kanani, goes in with a boneheaded tackle where at first I thought it was a really good challenge, but when you see the replays of it, it was most definitely a penalty. It was just a huge lapse of judgment, just a stupid moment of defending, which he didn't need to do because Iran was in total control of the match. And thank God, because of that yellow card he did receive for conceding the penalty, he's going to be suspended for a round of 16 match, which it seems like most Iranian fans are quite happy about now. Nonetheless, they got the penalty, and Baranvan did like he did against Oman in the 2019 Asia Cup. He ran it back, saved the penalty, and it just changed the momentum yet again. Iran then would swiftly go on and score another goal, and it was the main man himself, Taremi, getting himself a brace in the match, which was great to see. It was very vintage Mehdi with his 2 goals. You can just tell it reinvigorated that enthusiasm that he had when he was bagging in loads of goals for FC Porto and the national team. Iran would still continue that pressure and get a goal from an unlikely source, and it was Mohebi pouncing on a shot that I was really hoping Jahanbakhsh would score. That goes off the crossbar, he cleans it up, scores it. But yet again, VAR intervenes over a tackle that he did make Mohebi in the play leading up to the goal, which was clearly not even a foul on his end. It was more obstruction from the UAE player, but the referee decides to chop off the goal, which honestly, I didn't think was deserved one bit. I think their penalty was deserved. I will say that was good use of VAR, but chopping off Mohebi's goal was just the dumbest thing. It wasn't a foul. It shouldn't have been ruled out, and even the commentators agreed with me saying that that goal from Mohebi should have counted. And that again kind of swung the momentum towards UAE side, similarly to when they got the penalty, and they would go on to score a pretty nice goal for the most part, and then kind of Iran was kind of walking on needles for the remainder of that 13 minutes of added time, and then they just kind of grinded out the result. Some big positives and takeaways that I saw in this match. I was really impressed with how we started. We locked down UAE offensively. They really didn't have a sniff at our goal until really the end of that match, if you don't count Kanani's boneheaded per usual lapse in judgment. We did a really good job stifling them offensively. I think we played really well offensively, but we just didn't take our chances. Many missed opportunities, especially from Azmoun. After Mohebi's miss, Azmoun was clear one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but just pulled it wide completely. So as much as we want to make the excuses, Iran could have easily won 3 or 4-1 in that match. We kind of brought it upon ourselves to make the match a little bit tough by not taking all of our opportunities. We did a good job creating opportunities, putting the pressure on them offensively and shutting them down defensively, but we need to be able to take our opportunities. In more difficult matches, we're only gonna get 1 or 2 big chances, and big players like Mehdi, Sardar, Ali Reza Jahanbakhsh, Mohebi, Golizadeh, they need to take their opportunities. Similar to what Qaedi did in the match against Hong Kong, because we didn't really have any good chances in that match. And when we did, they fell to Shahryar Moghalu, who was an absolute dunce. So for our big players, like I mentioned, they need to take any opportunities that they they get. So hopefully now that we're in the knockout rounds, we do that. Alireza Baranvant was a guy that I did criticize very heavily in our previous match against Hong Kong, but came in clutch and honestly was very commanding in this match, which I really like to see, saving the penalty, really making sure that defense just kept its shell against that UAE offense. So I will admit this, Alireza Baranvant, you proved me wrong in this match. My opinion doesn't really change that after this tournament, we should look to bring in a new #1 goalkeeper, but in regards to kind of my worries about him, should he still be the #1 even at this tournament and whatnot, he totally proved me wrong here, and he definitely has warranted why he is still the Iranian national team's #1 goalkeeper. That was a very clutch moment where honestly, if they did score that penalty UAE, I think the match might have ended in a little bit more of a different scenario. So big shout out to you, Alireza Baranvant. Seeing Golizadeh back in the lineup was very refreshing. Honestly, I know I'm a big Alireza Jahanbakhsh lover, but having Ghaedi and Golizadeh on the wings might be Iran's best options on the wing. Golizadeh looked super effective in the final third, was taking on players, creating opportunities. I think I gotta admit it, he should be the guy starting in the next match against Syria. Everyone else that I didn't mention was absolutely as well solid in the match. The big blow, which kind of just shocked me during the live stream, was Moharami's injury, because I was just so disheartened to see it, because he's been arguably one of our best players at this tournament, arguably Iran's best defender in general. I mean, for the performances he's been putting out for Dinamo Zagreb and for the national team, it was just so disheartening to see him go down with possibly, and it's looking like, a season-ending ACL tear. It was such a bummer. It's going to be such a huge loss for us because, in my opinion, he should be Iran's starting right back. And as well, I've mentioned it during lives and whatnot, I wanted to see Moharami, Rezaian being the outside backs for this team, trying that experiment, having one at right back, having one at left back, because honestly, we don't have any good solid left backs in this team. But sadly, we're not going to be able to see that experiment for at least a year to come. A small mention to a player that I didn't really think played well when he came on was Asadi. I think he was an absolute dumpster fire. There was a really good chance that he had in the final third where he could have just squared it to Mehdi for his hat trick, but instead was like really rash and then just kicked it. I don't know if it was a shot or a cross or whatever it was, all the way out for a throw-in, but you could tell that was definitely not a pass. I think his mind was shooting the ball. It's just showing players like Asadi, Moghalu, players that us fans kind of knew shouldn't have been getting called up, shouldn't be getting any minutes for this team, have been dumpster fires for us in this tournament. But I'm not going to go back on about it. Overall, this was a good performance, a good lineup, but you can tell certain players, Kanani, couldn't be starting in these games. I like Azmoun and Mehdi as the strikers, Ezzatullahi Saman as the midfielders, Mehdi Ghaedi, Ali Golizadeh on the wings. I guess now our hands kind of forced, but Haj Safi and Rezaian as our wingbacks. But Majid Hosseini and Khalilzadeh should be our center back duo with Baranvant as the goalkeeper. That is the perfect lineup in my opinion. So Galenoi, make sure to use that lineup against Syria. Now that the group stage has concluded, it is do or die for Iran for the remainder of the tournament. They're going to be playing Syria in the round of 16, most likely going to be playing South Korea or Japan in the quarterfinals, but that is looking like their most challenging opponent to their pathway to the final. So if they could get over that hurdle of beating a South Korea or Japan, which they have shown they have deficiencies where teams can go on and beat them, and Iran has a really good game against them, we could possibly see this team go all the way to the Asian Cup final and possibly win the tournament. But that's up to this team. It's going to be a tough task. Because of how things panned out, it looks like they are on the more harder side of the bracket, but I'm not really complaining. I didn't want them necessarily to throw the game against UAE, to finish in second, to be in the easier side of the bracket. You're going to face challenging teams. Let's not be pussies about it. Let's take it head on and go on and win this tournament and beat whatever team is in our pathway. That is what true champions do. Don't forget, boys and girls, we will be doing a watch along for the match against Syria. I've already put up the live, so make sure to click notify me so you guys are there as soon as I go live. But nonetheless, boys and girls, my opinion only matters so much. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. How far do you guys think Iran will go in the knockout rounds of this tournament? I will be doing a review for every single one of Iran's matches throughout this tournament, so make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And boys and girls, I hope you all have a lovely day.